Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something literally life-changing, the science of happiness. For the longest time, we treated happiness like this mysterious, fleeting feeling that just magically happens to us if we're lucky enough. But modern science tells a totally different story. Happiness is actually a biological and psychological resource. It's something we can actively, intentionally build. Let's be honest, how many of us would actually like to be happier? Pretty much everyone, right? We all have that one thing we secretly hope will be the ultimate magic fix that finally brings us joy. We look for solutions all over the place, hoping to just stumble upon a golden ticket. But true, lasting happiness? It requires a completely different approach. Well, as researcher Sonia Lubomarsky brilliantly points out, happiness isn't just a streak of good luck that we have to sit around waiting for. It's not a winning lottery ticket. It's actually more like a house that you have to deliberately construct. If you build it on a faulty plan, it's going to be pretty shaky. But if you construct it using a well-developed blueprint, your house of well-being is going to endure. Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. 1. The happiness paradox. 2. Broaden and build theory. 3. The undo effect. 4. The positivity ratio. 5. Your happiness blueprint. And 6. The upward spiral. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The happiness paradox. Shifting the paradigm. So this all starts with a huge realization by psychologist Martin Seligman. He noticed that for roughly half a century, traditional psychology was completely obsessed with what was wrong with people. It was basically just damage control, trying to figure out how to move someone from a -5 to a -3, just surviving. But Seligman asked a wildly different question. How do we get someone from a +2 to a +7? And boom, positive psychology was born. It shifted the entire goal from merely surviving to actively building well-being and truly thriving. Section 2, Broaden and Build Theory, the evolutionary purpose of joy. So how exactly does this thriving work on a biological level? Enter Barbara Fredrickson and her Broaden and Build Theory. Think about it. Negative emotions, like fear or anger, literally narrow our focus for immediate survival. It's that classic fight or flight mode where your options shrink down to just escaping or attacking. But positive emotions, joy, interest, contentment, they do the exact opposite. They broaden our thoughts and actions. Joy prompts us to play. Interest sparks exploration. We literally expand our minds. To put that into perspective, researchers ran a study where they showed people different films to spark specific emotions and then asked them to list what they wanted to do right at that moment. The results were wild. The folks who felt joy or contentment came up with significantly more ideas and actions than those who were scared or angry. It's absolute proof that joy literally opens your mind to a wider world of possibilities. Section 3, the undo effect, healing the body. And this isn't just about feeling good in your head, it physically alters your biology. Researchers stressed people out by making them prepare a timed speech. Heart rate spiked, blood pressure went up, the whole shebang. But then they showed them different film clips. The people who experienced mild joy or contentment, their cardiovascular systems recovered from that intense stress significantly faster. Positive emotions literally act as a biological reset button. It is a natural antidote to stress. Section 4, the positivity ratio, the math of flourishing. Okay, so if positivity is this incredibly good for us, how much do we actually need? Well, it turns out there's a specific mathematical boundary for human flourishing, known as the Losada ratio. And that magic number is 3 to 1. Experiencing about 3 positive emotions for every 1 negative emotion is the actual tipping point. Cross that line, and you transition from languishing in a rut to flourishing with some pretty incredible behavioral flexibility and resilience. And the long-term effects of hitting this ratio? Honestly, they're staggering. Just look at the famous nun study. Researchers looked at autobiographies written by Catholic nuns back when they were in their 20s. Decades later, the data showed that the nuns who expressed the most positive emotions in those early writings lived, on average, a full 10 years longer than the least positive ones. 10 years. Happiness isn't just nice to have, it is quite literally a biological life extender. Section 5, Your Happiness Blueprint, Constructing the House. We know the science, we know the math, so let's get practical. How do you actually construct this well-being in your daily life? Here are the 5 foundational principles of your happiness blueprint. 1. Notice the good. 2. Focus on the positive past. 3. Look forward to tomorrow. 4. Know and use your strengths. And 5. Serve others. But before we lay the bricks, we need a solid foundation.
which comes down entirely to how we interpret the events in our lives. When Thomas Edison was 67, his entire life's work, his factory, burned to the ground. Instead of completely falling apart, he told his family to come watch this incredible fire, and by the next morning, he just announced, "We're rebuilding." He chose a foundation of resilience over a foundation of despair. That's the mindset we have to start with.
Building on that, principle 1 is to purposefully notice the good. There's this great story in our source material about a 5-year-old kid named Adam who stopped outside a store just to smell every single bush on display. He wasn't in a rush, he was just soaking in the world. We need to be way more like Adam. Take a walk, notice nature, write down a couple of things that actually went well today. You've got to intentionally pump up the goodness around you and let it grow.
Principle 2 is all about focusing on the positive past. Look, everyone's life story has painful and positive memories. But to build a happy house, you get to choose the cornerstone themes of your narrative. Amplify the good stuff, put up photos, share your favorite stories. And those painful memories, rehabilitate them to find the growth. Oh, and forgive those who hurt you, because holding on to resentment is honestly like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. Principle 3, look forward to tomorrow. This is all about how we manage our worries. Look at the stark difference here. When a pessimist fails, they tend to think it's personal and permanent, like, I failed because I'm just stupid. But an optimist, they reframe it as specific and temporary. Hey, I made a mistake, but I learned something. By reframing our fears and actively planning things to look forward to, we naturally infuse our thinking with a lot more hope. Now we're building the walls with principle 4. Know and use your strengths. So many of us spend our entire lives obsessing over fixing our weaknesses. But you wouldn't expect a fish to climb a tree or an eagle to go for a jog, right? Real happiness depends far more on operating in a state of flow, using your unique natural strengths. Figure out what you excel at and literally design your daily life to do more of exactly that. And finally, principle 5, choose to serve. This is the crowning achievement, the protective roof of your house. When you take those signature strengths we just identified and use them to shelter and support your community, life becomes so incredibly rich and meaningful. Cut out the activities that drain you and find ways to serve that perfectly align with what you do best. Section 6, the upward spiral, expanding your life. When you stack all these practical principles together, something absolutely amazing happens. We've all heard of the downward spiral of depression, right? Where bad thoughts feed worse moods. Well, positive psychology proved the upward spiral is just as real. Building positive emotions broadens your thinking, which improves your coping skills, which actually increases your resilience to adversity. And guess what? That resilience naturally generates even more positive emotions. It is a compounding upward loop of human flourishing. We've covered a ton of ground today, from that magical 3-to-1 ratio to Edison's amazing resilience. The evidence is just undeniable. Happiness isn't something that just magically happens to you. It is a house you have to actively design and construct, brick by brick. So I'll leave you with this one final provocative thought to take